I watched my Mets on DVR. That's right. I succeeded, Tiki.
I'm impressed.
In going to this wonderful charity event, Christmas in July, put together by the great Rich Genovese. He's a great guy. It was a great cause. And I had a wonderful time meeting a lot of people. Had a fun time. And everybody followed one tiny thing for me. They didn't tell me what was going on in the Met game. So I got home, I sat down, I kissed my wife even though she was sleeping, and I watched my Metsies. And then when there was a rain delay, here's the beauty of DVR, Tiki.
Yes.
I skipped it.
You could catch up.
I skipped it.
It went much faster for everybody than everybody else watched it.
That's right. Well, your 1 hour, 40-minute rain delay was 2 minutes for me. 2 minutes. I skipped it.
And right before that, David Robertson was warming up in the bullpen.
Which I didn't think much of. Just, okay, yeah, it's a close game late. 1-1. They're going to need to use their best reliever. And they come back from the rain delay. They get the game-winning hit. Yippity-doo-dah. And all of a sudden, Brooks Raley's on the mound. And my brain tells me, wow, David Robertson got hurt. Son of a bitch. He's hurt. So now the closer's not available. If you wanted to trade him, you can't. He's got to be hurt. Raley does a fairly good job. I think issues a 2-out walk, gets through it. Mets win a game. I don't even know what time it is. I'm tired. My throat hurts. I check my phone, and the first message I see is from your man, Pete Hoffman.
Yep.
They bleeping did it. And I'm like, oh, crap. What did they do? And then I see that they traded David Robertson. And what did I tell you the last few days? Do you remember what I told you?
You told me as soon as they trade David Robertson, it's over. That's
Yes.
the concession.
Yes.
Because we were talking about, at least I was thinking, man, maybe Max Scherzer, maybe Verlander, even though Verlander money doesn't make sense for another team to take that on. Tommy Pham, Canna, they're going to do something to try to sell, or at least when they get in that mindset, they're going to sell. They're not going to be buyers unless they go on a ridiculous run post All-Star break, which they have not done. They've been roughly 500. So it was just a matter of when and who they were going to start trading. And you said anybody but David Robertson, because that means it's over.
Well, I wanted, in my own deluded mind, to sell smartly, to sell guys that you could actually replace and still put some kind of run together. If you trade Tommy Pham or Mark Canna or even Jose Quintana, I could rationalize how whatever prospects you get back, fine, but the Mets could still conceivably go on a run. I can't even convince myself, considering how bad the Met bullpen is, that minusing David Robertson, the Mets are going to somehow get hot, pull themselves closer in this race. So from that pure, hey, I want to be entertained, hey, I'm holding out hope that this could be 2016 where the Mets snuck into the playoffs, or 1973, or whatever other example you want to come up with, David Robertson, who I thought was the most valuable player on this team in the first half of the year, you take him away, any shot of getting into this race is gone. So that's emotion number one, which I think we could all, even if you think I'm nuts and say, don't be stupid, Evan, they're 7 games back, you shouldn't think that way, you would at least agree with me that on the value of David Robertson, on how important he would be to this team if they ever did get hot and put some kind of push together.
Yeah,
is that fair to say?
It is fair,
Thank
you. It's not as if he has 31 saves in his leading Major League Baseball. He's got 14 saves, but a lot of that's because he hasn't been in positions because the other guys in front of him have given up leads and he's not been in save positions. But that being said, I think listening to Francisco Alvarez, listening to Francisco Lindor, listening to all of these guys after the fact, except for Tommy Pham, who kind of was like, I got a high OPS plus. I got a F4 that's pretty high. Trade me. I got value. It's almost like he wants to be gone.
I'm sure he does.
But everybody else, save for Tommy Pham, was kind of saying, we're still going to fight. We're still going to push.
What are they going to say? We'll give it up?
But you have to. And just because you trade David Robertson doesn't mean that it's over. Right? It creates, and I hate to say this because we know these guys aren't good enough, but it creates the opportunity for somebody else to step into that role.
Do you know who the Mets are calling up to replace David Robertson? And you don't have to. No one has to.
Tell me.
I'll tell you because I'm the loser who cares. A 30-year-old reliever named Reed Garrett, who they claimed off waivers from the Baltimore Orioles. I'm not kidding. That's the opportunity that's being created when David Robertson gets traded. Now, when you trade Tommy Pham or Mark Canna, you know who opportunity that may be created for? Ronnie Mauricio.
Of course.
So it's not as if there's all these young 24-year-old relievers throwing 99 miles an hour that are now going to get an opportunity because David Robertson is gone. Like, it kills any chance of any kind of run. And for those Met fans or baseball fans who say, Evan, you were delusional the entire time, fine, but at least understand that would have been much more damaging than trading Tommy Pham or Mark Canha.
So, look, I've heard this all day long. It's over. The Mets are conceding. Billy Upper sounded a little bit, I don't know, despondent, like accepting of the situation that he was in, that he had to make this trade. It obviously must have been in the works because, as we mentioned, I alluded to, David Robertson was up before the rain delay. He was getting ready to pitch. And then they had that extended rain delay. It went for, I don't know how long it was.
It was like an hour and a half, I think.
And most people went to bed. They said, forget it. This is going to get canceled or we're not going to see the end of it because it was too late. But when he comes back out, you're right. Raley is up and David Robertson is not. In that hour and a half, Robertson got traded, basically. Yeah. That's how you can interpret it. But in that clubhouse, that had to be shocking. But the words that they said afterward, except for Tommy Pham, the words that they said afterwards made it feel like, all right, that happened. That sucks, but we still have a shot. And as an athlete, you have to think that.
Of course you have to.
But even if you don't believe it, you have to think it.
Exactly. Wait, what the hell's Pete Alonso going to say? Yeah, we gave up. I guess I should just pad my numbers and think about that.
Kodai Senga, he pitched pretty damn well.
He was
last
tremendous.
Night,
he was
right?
tremendous.
Verlander was fantastic the other day. Now, Scherzer, I'm not talking about, but everybody else seems to still believe that they could do this.
Look,
and I know the fan doesn't. The fan is resigned. The huge Met fan who looked at the 375 or 347 and the 555 with the tax and everything else that they're spending this year said this was our season, but eventually it fell away. They're not believing. But the player has to. They have to. You have to look at this as an opportunity.
An opportunity for what?
An opportunity to excel, to do the impossible.
No.
To find a way back. I'm being serious.
No.
I know you think I'm just being a devil's advocate and seeing the other side of this, but as an athlete, if you ever quit, you might as well stop playing.
No, I don't expect any Met player to quit. I'm just telling you as a fan who was never optimistic that they were going to get back in the race, but I was hopeful. And I think there's a difference between believing something's going to happen, but at least holding out hope that it could. Okay, I think those two things are very different. And that's who I represent, at least right now, as a Met fan. I am not predicting them to make the playoffs or go on any kind of run, but I was hopeful, and I would always pay attention. Every National League team ahead of them, root for them to lose. The Mets are a 5-game winning streak from being 3 or 4 games out. And what they did was they took away their most important piece, in my opinion. And let's discuss this, because this is important. They took that piece away 4 days before the trade deadline. They took that piece away and traded it to a team that the Mets are chasing in the Miami Marlins.
Immediately in front of them.
Immediately in front of them. The other thing is, and I want to discuss these kids, Marco Vargas could become a superstar.
He's 18.
Ronald Hernandez could become a superstar.
He's 19.
My emotion from last night and my emotion today is not dumb enough to say those guys have no chances. I know they do. I love baseball. And I know that people were waiting for me to say this. I'll do it right now at 2:11. The LA Dodgers traded Yordan Alvarez for Josh Fields. And at the time, no one knew who Yordan Alvarez was. Could Marco Vargas become Yordan Alvarez? Of course, I'm open-minded enough to know that as a kid, he could develop into that. There is a chance, Tiki, 5 years from now, if you remember this, and I think you will, and we're still doing the show together, you may say, hey, moron, remember when you cried about the Robertson trade? Just turned out to be the greatest trade in the history of the Mets. I understand that could happen. I want to acknowledge that. That could happen. I am not bad-mouthing Marco Vargas and Ronald Hernandez, but the Mets took their most valuable piece in a year in which they're out of it, but not fully out of it, and traded it for 2 lottery tickets who wouldn't be able to be cashed in for another 4 years. That's a tough sell for me as a fan and as a customer, and that's a tough sell for every single Met fan. So I'm trying to be rational with this. I get it. They can be stars. They can be good. I'm reading every minor league report about Vargas' skills and what he can be and what he needs to work on. I get it. I'm a fan. I'm into that crap. But understand their lottery tickets and understand that this isn't going to happen if they do turn into anything for 4 or 5 years. And understand that any chance the Mets had of going on a miraculous run is dead.
Yeah, but it doesn't. I mean, I think there's a smart way to acknowledge that this didn't work. And that's what the Mets are trying to do. They're trying not to completely just tank and say, all right, get rid of everybody, let's start
They
over.
are. They just traded their closer.
I know, but they're not going to trade Verlander. They're not. By the way, I got this from you. I got this from you telling me I don't want to trade Scherzer. I don't want to trade Verlander. I don't want to move Quintana. I don't want to move any of these guys because I want to win next year.
Correct.
And the most recent example is the Yankees in 16. Right when they did this, it was 84 win season. They kind of just knew. You just kind of felt like, it's not going to work out. You know what, Aroldis Chapman, go win a championship but come right back. Now, they don't need David Robertson to come right back, even though he could.
I'd like him to come right back.
But Edwin Diaz is going to come back. Maybe David Robertson also comes back. And next year you run it back, but a little bit different. And you've also served the other initiative, the other point that Steve Cohen wanted to emphasize when he bought the team was, I need to build the farm system. And he started to do that. Again, we don't know what these kids are going to turn out to be, but they're there, right? And they're and who knows? So I think you can try to keep winning, but acknowledge that we might be a year away. And the biggest fault here goes to Steve Cohen because he started this journey 4 seasons ago. This is his 4th season. And all he talked about was winning a championship in the first 5 years, right? That's my goal. I want to win a championship in 5 years. We had a 5-year window. And so as a Met fan, you start to see all of these things happen, right? They're signing Scherzer and they Frisco Lindor, and the roster just gets a little bit more robust. You can feel the money being spent. And the Met fan is saying, oh, man, whatever it takes. Remember that we've said this so many, whatever it takes. No price is too exorbitant. We're going to go get somebody if we need to. That's a bad way to come into the league that you don't understand and just think money's going to buy you happiness. It doesn't, man.
Money doesn't guarantee you anything.
You gotta earn it.
But it gives you the best chance.
And Stevie Cohen, unfortunately, is learning this, and Billy Epler is learning this the hard way. You can't just buy happiness with money. You can't. You got to earn it. And this team doesn't have the right chemistry. I've talked about in Tiki and Tierney, the leadership has been lacking. Like who's the guy that's standing up in that clubhouse?
I got to tell you, I don't buy
that. You don't care about that.
No, but I don't buy it. I don't think that's the reason they failed this year. They won 101 games with the same roster last year.
So then why are they so underachieving? Literally everybody.
Oh, I'll tell you why.
Is sub what they should be.
Because Pete Alonso's had a down year.
Okay, but
Max
why?
Scherzer blows a lead every 5 seconds.
But why?
I can't explain why every individual has struggled. But you're telling me it's because of chemistry?
It's an anomaly when one guy does. It's an investigation that needs to happen when every one of them, except for Nimmo, I'll give him, even though he's been bad of late. Jeff McNeil is down. Lindor is down.
Yeah, but you think that's because of chemistry?
I don't know what it is.
No, I don't know either. I acknowledge that, but I can't say it's because of chemistry.
When guys underperform, it's not because they all of a sudden suck. I don't buy that. Not everybody walks off the cliff at the same time at varying ages from 29 to 34, right? It just doesn't happen.
Right.
So something is askew, and I've heard this from different people and that are closer to the Mets than I am, and I also didn't want to buy it. But when you see it month over month over month, except for July for some of these guys, Senga's been amazing in July, right? Some of these guys have been really good.
Kodai's had a really good rookie year, I think, overall.
Yeah, there was that little stretch where he gave up 4 runs a couple times in a row. But other than that, you trust him when he goes out on the mound. But something is not quite right. And I can't put my finger on it. And if I can't and Buck can't, then Buck might lose his job because of it. Right, so I know we're looking at the bigger picture here, but there's a detail, there's like a granularity that needs to be looked at with this Mets team because every one of these stars or quasi-stars, whatever call them, should not be underperforming all in the same year.
No, I think that's what
it just doesn't make any damn sense.
It reminds me a little bit of the Giants from a few years ago, not the football Giants. The San Francisco Giants won 108 games one year, and it sort of felt like it came out of nowhere. And then the following year, they crashed. And maybe it was because they overachieved the prior year. And that has a little bit to do with it. The Mets were probably not as good as what their win-loss record was a year ago.
Hold on. But back up to last year.
Yeah.
I know it was an overachievement, but it was an earned overachievement. They did every little thing right.
They did.
Every little thing right.
Look, everything in baseball they did last year better than this year. Their bullpen was better. Their defense was better. Their smarts was better. Their clutch hitting was better. Everything was better. Like, other than maybe amount of home runs per plate appearance, they did everything better. The manager was better. And this year's been a disaster. And I think what makes this very difficult for me, and I think for a lot of Met fans, is it's July 28th. There are 2 months left in this season. While I don't think, and the Mets have given me no reason to believe they're going to win 15 out of 18 or they're going to win 20 out of 25, they were still sort of there. They were still a winning streak away from being in the race.
They kind of are still a winning streak
And they
away.
still are.
Yeah.
And to take away a guy who's not replaceable, like, he is not replaceable.
Not with the current roster.
Not
Right.
even close. It's a very difficult pill for me to swallow as a Met fan. Now, long term, did they get 2 young prospects? Can they sign Robertson at the end of the year next year? Sure. They could do all of that. But what about now? I'm 40. Okay? I'm not turning 22, and these kids aren't going to be here till I'm 44. And I speak for a lot of Met fans when I say that.
Yeah.
They may be great young prospects in a few years, but what about today? And I also look back at last year when David Robertson, I wanted the Mets to acquire him. He went to Philadelphia for a minor league pitcher named Ben Brown, I think was his name. New York kid, too. Ben Brown is a minor league starting pitcher who's a year away from being in the major leagues. Maybe there's also a part of me that sees that and says, I wouldn't have minded that return. A starting pitcher that could be on this team next year.
Yeah, okay, Evan. It is Friday, July 28th.
Yeah.
The trade deadline is Tuesday, August 1st.
Yes.
How do we know that Josh Hader is not going to be available?
He ain't coming to the Mets.
And Billy Epler goes
No.
and grabs him.
We're not going.
How do we know that that's not in the plan?
Because it wouldn't make any sense. They're selling right now.
But David Robertson didn't make any sense.
No, it makes sense in the context that they're selling. They're selling
so
guys off now.
They win tonight. They win Saturday. They win Sunday. They sweep the Nationals.
No, they're not buying.
Okay, they sweep. I'm
Trust
giving
me.
you a hypo. They sweep the Nationals, and all of a sudden, other teams help them. And we're just a tad bit closer. Monday comes, the Royals, they blow them out of the ballpark. Pete Alonso hits 2 home runs. Lindor hits 1. It's 6 home run game, being exorbitant for a reason. And then you feel like at that point, 5-game win streak. You're feeling amazing.
Yeah,
like you're man, this could work.
No, they're not. But the only thing that they could do, and they still may do, I'm open-minded to this, is acquiring guys that would be on the roster next season. They're not going to acquire a rental or a free agent. If they could get a reliever, Trevor Gott, who has not been good, but is an example of this, they could do something like that. And mark my words, because of what you just said, the Mets are going to get hot now. There's not a doubt in my mind. There's not a doubt in my mind that the Mets are going to tease us now by getting hot. Brooks Raley, who I don't think they're going to trade before the deadline, is going to do a stupendous job out of the bullpen. David Peterson's going to step up, and they're going to tease us just a little bit until they get within, let's say, 3 games of the wild card spot, and then the reality of this bullpen not having David Robertson's going to sink in, and they're going to fall on their ass.
Hey, why are you such a downer?
Because I can feel it in my bones
and
now.
that may be why they did it, to save them from themselves, knowing this week's schedule coming up.
But you know what? It's not saving yourself, because I was never a believer that they should buy. I was never a believer that they should do anything stupid. It was more, you can sell certain guys, and other guys, just hold on to unless you get like a premium top 50 prospect. And as of now, these 2 kids are not that. Now, they may turn out to be. I'm open-minded to that.
They're sub 20. We have no idea. I don't even know what the ETA is.
Years.
Yeah, it's true, but still, I have no idea.
And I think for a lot of us, it's about the now. And in the now, despite how inconsistent this team has been, they have cut off any opportunity to go on a run with this trade. And it's going to be the first of many. Because if you trade David Robertson, you must trade Tommy Pham.
Yeah.
If you trade Tommy Pham, you must trade Mark Canha. Now, as far as the pitchers are concerned, I stand by everything I said to you earlier this week. You cannot trade Justin Verlander or Max Scherzer. I wouldn't trade either guy. Because next year, you have to replace them. Despite this trade for teenagers, the Mets are not rebuilding next year. They're retooling.
Yes.
And if you're retooling, you have to keep an eye on, will that guy help me next season? Robertson at least was a free agent. I acknowledge that. Pham, Canha, free agents. You can let them go or re-sign them at the end of the year anyway if you wanted. Verlander and Scherzer are going to be relied upon next year. You cannot trade them before August 1st. It's stupid.
Yeah, no, it would be. By the way, Marco Vargas
Yes.
just traded for.
Yes. He's from Mexico, by the way. I'm very excited.
ETA 2027. So you're right.
2027.
Years.
Now listen, in 2027, does he become a superstar? I pray. I pray to the baseball gods that we will all mock ourselves for opinions on July 28th. And believe it or not, may not sound this way right now, I'm a lot calmer right now than I was last night. Last night, upon getting this news, after watching the Met game, a nice little cute victory, and I was a little tired, a little cranky. It was a very long day. I was so pissed off. That's why I was firing off angry tweets. I compared Billy Epler to Billy King and John Idzik. I think I did that last night.
What?
Yeah.
Just no Rico, though.
No, I couldn't do Rico.
Only time for tweets, Tiki.
It's the only time for tweets.
I was so pissed off, and then I couldn't sleep. So what I did is I put on YouTube videos learning more about the aliens. True story. That's what I did. I needed to transition my brain. So I learned more about, the UFOs and what the government's covering up.
Does anybody actually believe or follow this congressional hearing?
56% of Americans believe that the United States government is keeping aliens and UFOs away from us. True story.
Yeah. They want to believe. Not that they believe. They want to believe aliens.
So
Let me
they're
tell you
saying non-human.
Non-human.
Yeah.
Non-human.
Non-human.
But by the way, a non-human could be a homeo something else.
Sure. Whatever
Right.
you say.
I watched the
that
documentary.
an alien
I
too?
was watching a documentary on
See? Look at
Netflix last night.
You were too.
It was called Unknown, and it was some cave. And it's a non-human species that buried themselves 250,000 years ago, which portends a higher level of intelligence.
So you can't mock me for watching my YouTube clips. Look what you're watching.
I know, but my reason I bring it up is because they were non-human.
Non-human.
They're not Homo sapiens. They're Homo Natelli or something like that. Natel or something.
Here's what I
can't
want to
remember
know
what
about these Homeo Natalians. Can they throw a 98-mile-an-hour slider and help out this med bullpen?
No, they were sizes of chimpanzees and had little tiny brains.
We'll get your calls about this coming up, 877-337-6666. Plus, is today the national holiday Yankee fans have been waiting for? Aaron Judge Return Day.